With no football to occupy us, we've had more time than usual to pause and reflect on things a bit. What do we love about the game, and what could do with improving? And in particular, we started thinking about the differences between English football and German football, sparked by recent events in the Bundesliga.
The German football fans do have something worth fighting for.
I think English football fans could learn to not fight with themselves as much as they do.
Allow us to explain. On the 29th of February, German football came to a standstill. Bayern are beating Hoffenheim 6-0. The match has already been stopped twice when the players decide just to kick the ball around between themselves for the last 15 minutes. The problem? A series of protest banners directed at Hoffenheim's billionaire owner, Dietmar Hopp. Now bear in mind that a month earlier, Jordan Torunariga was racially abused in a DFB Pokal tie at Schalke, receiving a second yellow card for his furious reaction. That game wasn't stopped, and the players didn't decide to abandon the game to have a protest kickabout. So what the hell's going on here, and what does it have to do with English football? German football is in great shape. Stadiums are full, domestic leagues are incredibly competitive, the atmospheres are brilliant, the experience is reasonably priced, and most importantly, the fans have a real say, something of a pipe dream for English supporters. As Matt Ford wrote in a recent article for Copper90.com, the flags, banners, flares and confetti seen in stadiums across Germany are not only the product of weeks and weeks of preparation and organisation, they also represent something which goes much deeper and is much less tangible. They're an expression of agency, engagement and involvement, the difference between passive consumption and active support of a football club. We'll talk about how our club belongs to us, the fans, how without fans football is nothing, but most of the time there's an emptiness to those words. Our clubs generally belong to millionaire magnates, billionaire businessmen and sovereign wealth funds. But to really understand what this means in German football, you've got to understand the 50+1 rule.
So the reason why Dietmar Hopp and Hoffenheim are not very popular with the majority of German football fans is because Dietmar Hopp and Hoffenheim go against the way that football clubs are run in Germany, the 50+1 ownership model, which means that the fans retain the power. Apart from a number now of high-profile exceptions like Hoffenheim, like Wolfsburg, like Bayer Leverkusen, and in most recent years we've seen the emergence of RB Leipzig.
German football is a world in which fans and club members still have a voice, still have a place where they can determine who are the people in charge of their clubs, what sort of statutes and what sort of political beliefs will be behind the club.
A lot of German football fans feel it's highly unorganic, that their game is about tradition, and that Dietmar Hopp with his money has financially doped or completely Frankensteined this club into the top flight. And they've not quite enjoyed the level of investment or the global sporting network of Red Bull that Leipzig have. But at the same time, they're relatively stable in the top flight. I mean, they've been in the top flight since 2007 now, and they're not going to go away anytime soon.
Borussia Dortmund fans have been particularly outspoken in their criticism of Hopp. Back in 2008, they displayed a banner with Hopp's likeness in the crosshairs of a sniper's rifle. Dortmund CEO Hans-Joachim Watzke spoke out against what he termed test tube clubs and called on the German authorities to investigate Hoffenheim. Then in 2011, it reached another level.
You're about 3 years into the top flight tenure of Hoffenheim, and in 2010, Dietmar Hopp thinks, well, I can't go on being criticised like this. I've got to have dialogue with these fans. He talked about this recently in the wake of the incident between Hoffenheim and Bayern. He said, look, I'm not prepared to talk with these guys again because I already talked to them. None of them gave a millimetre, and I'm just wasting my time. I've never done anything to them, he said. Dortmund fans in particular would say, well, yes, you did, because if you go back to 2011, a Hoffenheim employee was caught piping noise through the speakers in the away stand at the Rhein-Neckar Arena to A, make them feel ill at ease, and B, drown out any chance about Dietmar Hopp. And this is after they've had their meeting to try and find some common ground. So after that, well, the ultras feel we can say what we want.
It was reported that a single club employee had been behind the move, but Hopp's critics accused him of secretly supporting it. Anti-Hopp banners have been seen and chants heard at virtually every game between the two clubs ever since. The weekend of the 29th saw the issue come up again. Fans criticised what they saw as a breach of promise by the DFB, who had just imposed a 2-year ban on Dortmund fans travelling to away matches at Hoffenheim over continued abuse of Hopp. In 2017, then DFB President Reinhard Grindel had pledged to end collective punishment of fans over things like unauthorised firing off of flares inside stadiums, although this was never formally adopted as a policy by the German FA. Then ultras groups across Germany took to the stands in solidarity with a unified message. "Du Hurensohn," it said, "you son of a whore," a not uncommon insult at German matches aimed at Hopp.
The point of comparison is pretty clear. The reaction to the Dietmar Hopp case was very clear-cut. You had people saying it's a new low point for German football, it's something that we cannot accept, it's a red line that has been crossed, whereas just recently we had numerous cases of racism, of monkey chants towards black players. We've had blatantly sexist banners towards female ultra groups in Germany, which did not even trigger the first step of the 3-step plan. And this raises questions, and people are asking if insulting a rich white billionaire is your red line being crossed. Then where were you when there were actual cases of racism? Where was that red line back then? Wasn't this incident a red line for you?
But for Bayern and many other teams, the protests aren't just about Hopp, but about what a crackdown on their freedom to criticise him might mean, namely the beginning of a dangerous precedent on the restriction of fan rights.
This is all a matter of a trend that has been taking place in German football in the eyes of many German football fans and many ultras. And as long as this is the general direction taken by clubs, by the authorities, by the DFB, the Football Association, and by the Football League, the DFL, I believe those protests will continue to take place, especially given how well organized German ultras are and how they make their case whenever it's possible. They don't keep silent. The culture here is a culture in which fans and ultras are part of the game, an active part of the game. They determine their club's futures. They determine the sort of voice their club will have.
So what can English football learn from all of this? Regardless of how you feel about the language and imagery used around the Hopp protests, or his right to pump money into a football club in his hometown, English fans should envy the fact that German fans speak out. In Germany, it's the activism of fans that have helped preserve the policies that football fans yearn for in England, like cheap ticket prices, the application of fit and fair ownership, and fighting back against fitting matches around TV times. They've also done great work combating all forms of discrimination, and because of their representation within clubs and paramount importance to the German football experience, their voices do make a difference.
Just 30 years ago, we're talking about a reality in which anti-Semitic songs or racist songs in general were sung pretty often in German stadiums and nobody cared. Then came the ultras as a young subculture, as a rebellious subculture, and decided that this is not for us. We sort of have a different idea of support, and you go to games nowadays and you won't hear such things.
We've seen, especially with Monday Night Football, that this is a protest that's been made frequently and eloquently throughout the last couple of seasons. What I think shows exactly how important that right to protest is. Firstly, the fact that Monday night games have been taken out of the next TV deal. And secondly, even though they've been taken out of the next TV deal, the fans aren't letting it go. They want to make sure it does actually go. And we saw this at Eintracht Frankfurt. And the Commerzbank Arena has one of the greatest atmospheres in the whole of the Bundesliga. And the whole home curve was empty for this Monday night game they played against Union a few weeks back. And there's just a huge banner with the stop sign through Mondays. And that is so arresting.
And finally, it's about ownership you can trust. How many nightmare stories do we have to go through in England before the authorities begin to give the fans a voice? Phoenix clubs are on the rise, fans are turning to non-league football to return to a sense of community, and nightmare owners are everywhere. Chelsea and Man City have been found guilty of breaching FFP, while Football League clubs find themselves on the brink. And newly promoted Premier League teams can spend over $100 million in a summer just to get relegated again. Something is clearly broken.
I think English football fans could learn to not fight with themselves as much as they do, not go for this consistent one-upmanship when it comes to ticket prices, for example, and realise that they are all in the same boat and they need to band together as one. The problem is that it's too easy for the authorities in English football to get the better of fans, and fans see it as almost, it's a case of putting up with it because it's about their club. It's about showing their love for their club. But actually, if they want cheaper ticket prices, then there needs to be greater unity.
German football fans do have something worth fighting for, and seeing that your campaigning gets results, it doesn't mean you're never going to campaign again. It makes you more likely to continue campaigning, and it makes it more likely that you should continue campaigning because you know that works. And like anything, like happiness in life isn't like a piece of paper that you can like nail to the wall and frame or anything like that. It's something you've got to constantly work on. And a football club, which is so much part of so many people's happiness all over the world, is like that. It's something you've got to constantly work on.
You can make up your own minds on whether the players and authorities have done the right thing by Hopp, but the voice German fans have means they're able to keep their footballing system accountable. There's real debate involving all the stakeholders that can lead to real change, and in an era of modern football where the money and business around the game seems to have left fans behind, in the Bundesliga, they're closer than ever.